So, good people, welcome back to YouTube Near Me, Not to Hear Me. Last time we got a chance to hang out with my boy Jerry Woods. And Jerry, man, after our wonderful interview, he said, man, dude, you need to hook up with my man, Rod McKinnis. I was like, why I need to hook up with Rod? He said, one, both y'all from the south side of Chicago and y'all act just alike. I was like, dude, you don't have to say no more. Hooked up with my man. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring to you my man from the south side of Chicago, Mr. Rod McKinnis. What's up, brother? How you feeling?
What's up, bro? It's good to be here, man. Thanks for the invite.
No, bro. No, thank you for coming and hanging out. I apologize for not having some Harold's chicken there for you.
Oh, bro, man, see?
But after it's over, we may have to go run and get some.
For sure.
Folks who don't know about Harold's chicken, man, y'all better Google it.
It'll change your life. Change your life.
Change your life. Hey, Rod. So, hey, my man, thank you for joining us here, man, today on YouTube Near Me, Not to Hear Me.
Yeah.
And dude, we can rap about a whole lot of stuff, but I want to throw out to you something that is right up your alley, and this allows you to kind of introduce what you do, man. You know, I want to kind of get into some things today about money.
Yeah.
I want to get into some things about debt, particularly consumer debt, things like that. And so that's just a little teaser, man. Just tell people a little bit something about what you do, man, and then we can grind down and get into this.
Absolutely, man. So it's best to start off with just a little bit about my story, right? So I was a kid that grew up on the south side of Chicago, and all of my education there, and that one class really taught me anything about financial literacy.
Okay.
And so I was fortunate enough to go to college on a basketball scholarship, ended up going to grad school on an academic scholarship.
Okay.
And with all that free education, I still ended up coming out of college at $40,000 worth of credit card debt. Right?
That's why Jerry was like, yeah, you two guys need to hang out.
You know, when I tell my story, a lot of people wonder, okay, how does that happen? You go to school for free, you go to grad school for free, yet you come out and all this credit card debt, not student loan debt, but credit card debt.
Hey man, you know how it happened. You get your books from the bookstore.
Yep.
You open up your book. What's sitting in there?
Yeah. Credit card application. Yep.
Citicorp, MasterCard, and Visa.
Oh man! And to make it even worse, on my campus, I couldn't walk 10 steps without tripping over a table that had a credit card application and a free pizza coupon. And in order to get free pizza, you had to sign up for the card, and your boy signed up for every last one of them and used them. Right? Ended up in all that debt, man. And, you know, I really didn't understand credit at the time. And I really wasn't astute when it comes to being financially literate. And so when I got into the workforce, it took me years to get out from underneath all that, man, and to restore my credit. And once I got out, I vowed never to go back. And I made it a personal mission to help others avoid the same mistake that I made. And so you know, you can talk to I got two boys. You can talk to my boys to this day. That when they were growing up, all they heard was "Don't do drugs and do not get a credit card." I mean, it was that hardcore.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, Rod. Real talk, man. We grew up. It was something impressive about when somebody opened up their wallet.
Yeah.
You just saw a stack of cards just on both sides. You got that long wallet. I remember going, you know, here come that Chicago again, going to Marshall Fields downtown, Parsons, or going up a little bit up north to like Lord and Taylor, Bonlin and Taylor, you know, iMagnet and all them expensive stores.
I see, you was bougie. I went to Evergreen Plaza, River Oaks.
And tell it all, hey, but think about it. Every time we walked into the men's section, looked at them wallets, man, them wallets were looking beautiful.
Yep.
Love
absolutely.
All these little credit card slots and everything. And I remember my dad opening up his wallet. He had one of them long checkbook kind of style wallets, but he opened up nothing but plastic. I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, man.
You gotta have that plastique.
Yeah, you know, but it's interesting. I remember my old man, he used to teach us. He was like, hey, listen, you know, let me show you this credit card game. And back then, it made a little more sense because the government would actually allow you to write off your credit card interest. That's why a lot of people use credit cards back in the day. but the rules have changed and our habits have not. So a lot of folks, a lot of us end up in a lot of debt, man. And it's going to get even worse going forward. So I'm out just trying to help people understand the credit game better so that they can make better moves financially.
Well, dude, I appreciate that, man. So this kicks into the crux of my conversation, man. So, somebody said, never should have gave black folks money. So I'm gonna throw my story out there. So I came out the same situation, man, with consumer debt when I came out of college. It really took me a long time to get myself, free from under it. We made a move, and so for a while, even when my wife and I were early in our marriage, we were very astute about credit card debt, things like that. We made a move, got out here, and just things, circumstances, and I had these credit cards that had these high limits that I have nothing on them.
Right.
Got out here, man, and I was just like, okay, it's getting a little tight. Let me just, I'll put this little grocery on here, or I got this gas on this, or I'm gonna put this on here, or man, I'm gonna take my wife out, man. I'm gonna go someplace now. I'm gonna spend a little something, and we're gonna take this trip. And next thing I know, limits just hit, boom, 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 boom. So, okay, this is not good. Now my payment is low. Mm-hmm. But as I'm watching, and I want people, and I may be saying something very basic and elementary that everybody knows, but we all get sucked into this idea that the payment is low on this high amount of money, but we ain't paying down on the primary of it. We're only paying interest.
Right.
And particularly some companies that I don't want to put out there like that, but they say, like the black card, the green card, it comes in gold. It's got the little dude with the shield on it. Right. That's the sucker's bet. Like for real. Like it gives you prestige, but you could get sucked in real easy because it's like, they accept it anyway. And there's some prestige when you slap that bad boy down, like, oh no, I got it. Bow. Right. And like, okay. And then later on, you really got it. Yeah. So I racked up the debt, and I sat down with my wife about a month or so ago, and we sat down and laid out a serious plan. I mean, like a plan, like I'm not this Dave Ramsey dude. I'm not all these other folks that got these, ways to do it and paper cup your money and do all this. When you don't have money, it's hard to pay debts. You just pay what the minimal is, and you're just trying to scratch your head and go neck to neck, check to check. But when you start to get, and it's not a lot, but when you just get a little bit of money, enough that you can see, okay, if I get into this, I can see this crack of daylight, and if I do what's right and just hold it down for this short period of time, and I'm sorry, black folks, it's in our DNA to hold stuff down. Anybody who been in a broke situation, comfort broke situation, how to hold it down. Yeah. It's just all of a sudden, now that we get a little bigger and badder about ourselves, all of a sudden now we want to, I don't know if I can do that. Well, shut your mouth and laid this whole plan out. Looked at what the interest rate was on the cards, looked at what the balances were on the cards and what we were paying, and then we took the lowest and just said, okay, let's throw all the money into knocking this card out, and then still make the payments on this, and then throw all the money on the next card. Right. And the payments that we were making on those two, we'll just add it to these down here. Yep. So at the beginning of this year in 2021, I felt like with a plan, dude, I could see daylight. Like I'm literally, Rod, looking at in this plan of just doing it this way, I could be free of consumer debt before August.
Yeah. What you're describing is called the snowball effect. And it's the most appropriate approach when it comes to getting yourself out of that situation. That's the best. Yeah.
So my question that comes to you is that people come with all these slick kind of ways of doing stuff, man. What is the way that you kind of connect with people and say, hey, let's start slow and let's get this thing taken care of? What are some of the things that you would suggest?
Yeah, man. So it's one of the things that we specialize in. So I got affiliated with an organization that really teaches people about financial literacy. And, we really just want to help them first understand the concept of the credit game. So when it comes to credit, we try to educate them on understanding how their credit score is calculated. For example, a lot of people don't realize, the 5 components that make up the credit score. So the 5 components are 35% is based on payment history. 30% is based on your what is it? The allocation, right? No. 35% is based on payment history. 30% is based on length of credit, right? How long the history that you've had. And then 20% is based on the types of credit that you have, and then the other 10% is based on the hang on, I got that backwards. I'm trying to remember. 35% payment history, 30% history, 25% is based on wait.
Because you gave me payment history, length of credit, and types of credit.
35% is based on payment history.
Okay.
30% is based on the what is it? The length of credit.
Got that.
25% is based on. Hang on, dude. I'm gonna pull this up. This is bothering me.
No worries, because this is the stuff that I think people.
Yeah, this is real talk.
Yeah,
I want to make sure.
Credit scores are just like, okay, but what's the game? Like really, what's the game? I don't, because here's what attracts people while you're looking that stuff up.
Yep.
So here's what attracts folks. Even in your credit cards right now, if you look at your statement, they say, well, hey, we'll help you keep track of your FICO scores.
Yes.
And you can look at yours up and see what's going on, this, that, and other. Or, if you guys are going to look at, and here's some basic information I'm sure people know, but some people don't know.
Yep.
You go to look at a car and they say, well, let me run your credit. If you go to 10 dealerships within a weekend and everybody runs your credit, it affects your score.
Absolutely. And so let me break this down for you. So 35% is payment history. 30% is capacity and amount owed. 15% is length of credit. And then 10% is credit inquiries, just like you were talking about. And then the last 10% is based on types of credit. And so here's what people need to understand now. When it comes to Fair Isaac Corp, who actually creates the FICO score, they changed the scoring model as of January 23rd of this year. And so now high balances and payment history are going to get hit harder when it comes to the actual scores.
So let me understand it again. You said high balances,
and payment history have a heavier weighting now. So what ended up happening in 2020, a lot of folks were paying bills very late, and folks, so a lot of folks got impacted by the COVID environment. So the merchants came to Fair Isaac Corp or FICO and said, hey, we need to protect ourselves, and we would like for you all to modify your scoring so that we know what we're dealing with when people apply for credit. And this was the outcome. And so now when it comes to late payments and those high debt balances, it's going to bring down the score if you paid a lot of bills late, if you have a history of paying bills late, and if you have high consolidated loans and stuff like that. And so supposedly over 110 households or consumers will be negatively impacted by the score. And we're starting to see it on our side now, where a lot of folks that have those instances and may have had collections and charge-offs, and just some folks filing bankruptcy. We're starting to see a lot of lower scores come through. I'm talking low 4s, high 5s, and it's a lot of folks that have been impacted by it.
So when that kind of situation is hitting, what then should be the focus? Should it be like, okay, like for myself, should I start looking at my credit level scores or anything like that? Or should I just say, take a second step to that, focus right on this debt?
So here's the thing, man. When you have a low credit score, it reduces your buying power. You end up paying more for less. For example, when it comes to just your basic financial moves, getting life insurance, getting car insurance, and even getting a job, even getting a lease for a house. I mean, a rental property, apartment, or a mortgage or a car. all these things come to the credit score. It factors into everything. So you end up paying higher for car insurance. Obviously, you're going to pay high for that auto loan or the mortgage, or you have to put down an extra security deposit for the lease. And so that reduces your buying power. You end up paying more for less. And so what we try to teach people is how to manage that score better with the knowledge and knowing exactly how things are impacted. And so that, when you move forward and make decisions, you have a better score. We also specialize in getting all the negative items removed off of the credit reports legally and permanently, even the hard to remove items like the bankruptcies, the foreclosures and stuff like that, because we know how to maneuver through the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which states that if there's anything negative on your report, it has to be accurate, and it has to be 100% accurate in its reporting and its filing, and it has to be verifiable. And we know that over 90% of all these negative items typically have some type of error in it, and we know how to spot them, and we know how to get the items removed.
So somebody taking in a thought of that and saying, okay, Rod, hey man, I need some help with this, like for real.
Yeah.
And I got a good job. I own a house. We've got a couple of cars, but Rod, hey man, I don't know where to start.
Right.
I feel like I'm at the end of every 2 weeks and I get my check, I'm paying everybody out, and I'm looking at about $100, $200 for me.
Right.
For me.
Right.
That's not taking care of all the things else. It's just, I may have 100, 200, I may. Then I got to go another 2 weeks with that, and I'm getting my gas out of that. Like, how do you take in somebody's situation that's like that? Like on paper, they look great, but when you see all of that debt that they owe and consumer debt, because I want you to delineate between the consumer debt and then the kind of debt that we're talking about with that you just naturally incur when you have a house, a car, something like that. What's that delineation?
Yeah, you'll find that a lot of folks, when it comes to consumer debt, a lot of folks have either way too many cards, or they have balances that are way high, and that compounding interest on those balances, man, it eats away at your buying power. So the first thing we do is we talk to them about their spending and how to execute something like that snowball effect, to show them how to pay off that debt. And even if they have a situation where they need extra income on how to do it, we actually have opportunities for that as well, so that people can make sure that they have a means in which to get themselves out of that dire financial situation. Mm-hmm. But the main thing is just education, and then putting together a plan and executing the plan accordingly to get them out of the consumer debt that they're in, and then help them modify their behavior and change their habits going forward. Because, oftentimes we see it, a lot of people, they'll go to a credit repair company, if you will. They'll get things removed off of their report, but 6 to 12 months later, they're coming right back to do it all over again, where, the behaviors and the habits never change. What we like to help people do is to help modify that, so that going forward, you're not in that situation again, right?
But you know how that happens.
Yes.
It's just like when we were talking about when we were in college.
Yeah.
As soon as we got a brand new book from the bookstore, or if you bought a T-shirt, what was stuck down in the bottom of the bag?
Right.
Another credit card application.
Yep.
And it was so appetizing. Oh, get this free gift or this, that, and other. And so I know that there's that same game that has to be from these companies, and whoever their marketing is, they're good. Like, they are really, really good.
Right. And it's almost predatory.
Yeah.
It really is.
Because as soon as you pay something off, as soon as you pay something off, all of a sudden you are flooded in your mail just with all kinds of, we can give you a loan for $25,000 and you only have to pay $20 a month, and you can pay all your stuff off, and then next thing it just and then people are in that mindset of, okay, hold on, so I can get all this money and only have to pay this amount out, but then they don't read the fine print. They just go through the quick, and the applications are super quick and easy, right?
Yeah.
Fill this button out, hit this button, call this number, give them this code, and we got it for you. And next thing you know, money is in your account, but then you don't understand the hit.
Yeah. Now, listen, I went through it, man. So I'll share another story with you. I remember me and my buddies in college. You know, back then, the big thing was having a stereo system in your car, right?
Technics.
And so
With the
I'm
big
almost,
speakers.
oh, dude, oh,
Dual
hold up.
cassette.
I had the 15-inch woofers
Come on, man.
and the pull-out Pioneer
Come on, man.
stereo system. This system probably cost about $1,200-$1,500.
Come on.
It was in a 1982 Honda Accord Civic hatchback.
Sony pull out.
Right.
In an 86 GTI.
Yeah, man. The system was worth more than the car. It was some boys still give me crap about it, man. I remember we would drive, you know, we'd be bumping, the sounds be banging, and I hit a bump, and then the two wires down underneath the dashboard would disconnect, and the sound system would go out. So
put it back.
have to piece it back together. But my point was, man, your boy went in. I'll never forget, man. I went to the store. I was so excited about getting the system. I put down my card to buy the system. When they ran the card, it was declined because I was bumping up against my limit, right?
Okay.
And so I negotiated with the person I was buying it from. I said, "Hey, listen, if I pay you cash, you know, how much would it be?" And so he gave me a little discount. So I went to the ATM, put in the credit card, got a cash advance. Now with the cash advances on credit cards, you're paying even
the credit
more.
card.
Right? Got the cash, bought the system. I look back on some of the stuff I did, man. I was like, this is retarded. So
I got to add to that. I'm in my second year at Morehouse, and my sister Carol, I'm gonna put her on blast, but I love her. My sister Carol was like, you know, I know you want a stereo. I was like, yeah, I want to see the stereo. Carson's was having a sale in electronics because they was trying to clear all their stuff out. I rolled up in there and they had the rack system, Technics.
Oh yeah.
Power speakers, the wood cabinet that came with the record player, the radio tuner, the graphic equalizer, the head unit, the dual cassette, and when CDs just started to come out, it had a single deck CD player. It was $1,000 retail. They had on sale for $5.99. I was like, I gotta have it. Okay, well, you're gonna have to pay it. I'm gonna get it for you. You're gonna have to pay it. I'm paying and I said, well, what's it gonna be a month? It's like $14 a month. I was like, that ain't nothing. I can scrape that off of pennies. I'm paying for that stereo when I graduated.
I know, man. It's the decisions you make. But again, when you're not financially literate, these are the types of decisions that get made, man. And it baffles me how in our education system, the way it's set up, that we're not teaching these kids this information at an earlier age. I mean, even all through grad school, got a master's degree in economics. I was not exposed to this information back then. Right. And so now, again, my whole mission is to help people understand how not to make those bad decisions, because you could be at a point in your life where you don't have time to recover from something like that. You and I, we had the benefit of learning that early in our age so that we recovered from it and we learn from it. Right. But a lot of folks, unfortunately, in situations where they didn't have the information, they're going through the situation now, and they may be in later stages of their lives where they don't have that time. So my whole point is to try to help people understand that and to put them in a situation where not only do we help them get out of the situation and help them with an opportunity to earn income to do that, but on the other side of that, we teach them how their money can work as hard as they are.
You know what, dude? One of the things I think that was a blessing for me, to be honest, was when I got married, my wife gave me 2 books during our honeymoon time for me to read. One of the books was Who Moved My Cheese?
Good book. Very good book.
The second book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh yeah, great book.
And so that Kiyosaki book was like a revelation to me, because it read like a story, but the stuff that was presented in there were serious tenets about just how to handle it. Now, don't get me wrong. all people have heard about his books and other books subsequently in the games, and then they get into that mindset like I do when I hear Dave Ramsey. Dude, I'm not hating on Dave Ramsey, but dude,
Dave Ramsey's hardcore, man.
I mean,
Hardcore.
I don't want to hear that no more. I was like, I can figure this out. You know, I ain't paper clipping money. I ain't doing that. I'm too grown. It's like calling some man delicious. I'm a grown man. I ain't calling nobody delicious. I'm not calling Dave Ramsey to figure this out. I can figure this out. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I got a bachelor's and a master's. Man, I done traveled the world. Ain't nothing wrong with me. Well, if you were so good, why did you get it figured out? Well, you're right. I get it figured out. So I mean, I went back to the basics on it, man. But I'll tell you, man. And I'll ask you for yourself, man. One of the books that really changed me was Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah. And what I instantly thought about after I read it, or during the time that I was reading it, I was like, man, so my parents, two folks from the south side of Chicago working, we lived on 82nd and Blackstone, and I thought we were doing it. Like I thought, we had cars in the driveway, we had a house. We going shopping on Saturday, and go taking trips, and we doing it right.
Yeah.
I thought we was middle class. We was broke.
Yeah.
Everybody in the neighborhood was broke.
Yeah. Yeah.
We looked up to the folks in Pill Hill, and let's be honest, and Pill Hill's that area in on the south side where we stayed at, man, where all these nice homes and the bigger lawns and all.
Oh yeah, different lifestyle altogether.
It was broke too, man. Everybody, wasn't nobody. You wasn't living like with your car on an angle up on a mountainside. Everybody was still in the struggle mode. We on the struggle buggy. But I think it was because earlier on, and I'm talking about late 60s, early 70s education about money for Black folks was get a job, get a house, stay in that house, pay it off, and you can get more second mortgages and all this other, and you just got to make it. It wasn't really until I understood the game.
Yeah.
Right. I want you to kind of break down what the game is about mortgages and credit cards and all this other kind of stuff. Because when you figure out the game, I mean, you can free your mind from a whole lot of stuff and break away from this, man.
Yeah, no, and you bring up a good point. Kiyosaki, man, in that book, he talks also about the cash flow quadrant, and he talks about the importance of multi-streams of income. And, again, growing up South Side as well, that was never taught. I mean, we were just like you. My dad drove a truck for 30 plus years, and my mom worked for the state. And same thing, man. We lived in a nice home. They found ways to make ends meet. And again, I was the same way. I thought we were the Huxtables. I mean, we were like, we were doing it, right? And so as I got more experience in life, I kind of learned and understood how to move differently when it comes to multiple streams. Because right now, I mean, there's a lot of folks that are working one stream of income. They have one linear stream of income, and that's it. They're working at one job, and that's all the income that's coming in. And if 2020 has taught us anything,
come on,
that we need to start thinking differently and moving differently when it comes to income, right? So I was very fortunate earlier in life that I learned that concept. I got the same book earlier in life, and I focused on multiple streams, right? So I teach people you should strive to get at least 5 to 7 income streams. Now, the one thing I can say about our community is that we were big on rental property, right? Getting some rental property, getting an apartment building, something like that. That was a second stream for a lot of people, right? And that worked. But there's more things out there that can allow you and your money to work as hard as you are when it comes to earning that income. When you have the multiple streams, you're now able to pay off things faster, like a mortgage, like some consumer debt or a loan or a car, anything like that. Those things get paid off. And now you got more cash flow that you can now put to work to invest, right? And so here's something that I also try to educate the Black community on is that when it comes to investing your money, you want to make sure that you're in the best wealth creator on the planet, which is the stock market.
Come on,
right?
man.
So
Come on.
a lot of us don't understand that because we associate investing in the stock market with gambling, and I know exactly where it came from. So another quick story. You know, back in the day, back in the 30s and 40s, in our communities, there was this game called policy, where you would put numbers on a piece of paper, and at the end of each day, those numbers would be called. If it was your number, you won some money. It's now known as the lottery for most people, right? And so we ran policy in our communities back then, and I did a little bit of research and found out that those numbers, the three numbers that were called, guess where they came from? It came from the last three numbers on where the Dow Jones ended for that day. That's how the numbers were created. So ever since then, a lot of us in our community have associated investing with gambling, and they avoid it.
You mean to tell me when they was running numbers, the numbers that hit that day were the last three numbers on the Dow?
That's where it came from. Crazy, right?
Shut the front door, bro.
That's where it came from. And so again, a
My
lot of
college educated self, I did not know that.
yeah, that's what my grandfather on my mother's side, he used to run the games. He used to run the numbers in Chicago, right? And so that's where it came from. So a lot of us avoided the stock market because we didn't want to get into gambling. And because of that, a lot of wealth has missed our community for years, right? And so I'm going to share you some more stuff that's going to blow your mind. So over the last 60 years, the stock market has demonstrated an average rate of return of 12%. 12%. So if you keep pace with what the stock market is doing, you're doing good, right? And so a lot of us have missed out on that compounding interest over all of that time. And so a lot of wealth has missed our community. It's getting better now because more of us are educated, and we're pounding the table, just trying to get people to understand how to invest. And you
easier to get into the game now, dude. You can do
absolutely.
it. You can do it on your phone.
Absolutely, man.
No expert.
And so now when you're investing, you can get that compounding interest to work in your favor in the growth of your assets versus having it work against you with the compounding interest on that consumer debt.
Man, you may have to re-say that again and bring it down where the dogs can hear it and understand it. I understood it. Now I'm just like, you know,
yeah.
What it sounded like you was telling me is like, listen, you paying out interest to your consumer debt because you went out and bought that laptop, you went out and bought a bunch of stuff. You bought stuff that had companies' names on it. Like you went and got you a Starbucks. Mm-hmm. You went and got Apple Computer. You went out and bought a Ford Motor Company car. You went out and bought so you putting your money out there, and your neighbors and everybody else and your mom and them too. I'm sounding like, you know, outcast, you know. And so now all of a sudden and you're doing it with that piece of plastic.
Yeah.
So as you're gathering all these consumer goods, which is great, because now you got things. Mm-hmm. That's what we think about. We got to have things. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at my desk right now. It's all these things.
Right.
You got all these things, but now in order for you to have those things and look good like everybody else does, you hurting because you paying that high premium of interest to have those things.
That's right.
And if I understand this correctly, if we flip the game around, the same money that you would have paid out for things, because you didn't necessarily need to have an Apple computer. You could have got you a Lenovo and all right for a couple of $100. You could have fixed your old one or whatever the case may have been. You could hook it by crooked, but you put your money into the stock market, and you could have invested into Apple.
Right.
You could have invested into Ford Motor Company or you go to Starbucks.
Right.
Why not be a owner in it and get the interest being paid back to you through the stock market rather than you paying it out as a consumer?
And let me break it out even further.
Come on, man.
Because you have poor credit, when it comes to buying that vehicle, you got to sign that loan for 20+, 30+%. And so now you're paying $300-400 more for that vehicle because of that 3-digit credit score. And you end up paying for the car 2.5-3 times because of all that interest. Now, with a better credit score, You get to pay a lot less in interest. You pay less in insurance, everything that goes along with buying a car. That same money could be put in the stock market. Now, here's something that's going to blow your mind. I tell people this all the time. If you invest $650 and it gets after that 12 and perhaps even higher, 12% interest or more, in 20 years, with all that compounding interest, $1 million. Let that sink in for a minute.
I can't even say nothing after that. I just said $650.
$650 a month, getting 12 to 15% interest over 20 years, $1 million.
Anybody who is out here, right? I got some young college kids that are listening to the program. Yeah. I have to say this to them right now. You will drop money on clothes and all this other stuff just to run with the Joneses and look good. And I'll tell you, I didn't do the same. But if somebody would have said to me, Dan, even if you didn't have 650, if you just took $500 a month, right, $300 a month, right, and just simply every month, as you buy McDonald's and food and going all this, if you'd just didn't do that one time that week and just took the money and did something else, that you would have had that kind of stack of cash 20 years later as a young person.
Yes.
All these folks talking about, I want to retire by the time I'm such and such and such and such. Well, you just got the plan.
That's it. And I tell you,
just got the plan.
I love educating young people on this, man, because their best resource right now is time. And with the right information, you can use it to your benefit so that you don't have to work all your life. You don't have to, put yourself in a situation where you have to work for somebody else. You can become more financially free. Yeah. And, again, that's really the difference between the haves and the have-nots. It's the information. And so now we're trying to close that gap so that a lot of folks in our community can have the information needed to make the necessary financial moves going forward.
So COVID has brought to us a very unique situation because people have lost jobs. Mm-hmm. Spending, in a sense, has dramatically changed where it's not brick and mortar spending, it's virtual spending.
Right.
And those businesses have gone through the roof. Yeah. If you thought Amazon was caking up before, right, they running commercials now where they talking about we giving relief like they're the government. Did you see that commercial?
Yeah, I did.
Jumbo jetliner, and it's got the stuff going on, like they are the government. Like that's the kind of cash that they putting out, right? Like we got enough money, we make so much money, we can give relief to Dallas and all these places that are struggling right now. We got relief coming for y'all, as if the government can't do it. Right. So it makes me think about our situation with COVID right now in a very unique situation about this. If you can't pay your bills, you lose things. You lose the car, you lose the home. You have to figure out other ways of going about it. Yeah. So that kicks in a lot of depression and a lot of other things. Or just other ways that people are just saying, okay, well, I'm not going to do it that way anymore. I'm going to try a different way. Mm-hmm. Those are folks who are just like the sniffing scurries from Who Moved My Cheese. We're going to figure out another way to make this thing happen. Right. So now, Rod, I know that there are a lot of unique opportunities that are happening and people are finding new ways. Yeah. But what I see creeping up are ways that companies and individuals who are slick enough to create games and shells to draw people in. Mm-hmm. It was right at the height of COVID, man. These folks were talking about this pyramid scheme, like, mm-hmm. Put your money in, and a couple of months out, you get your money, and then I was like, man, I don't see that. And people was making their money, but you had to bring 3 other folks in and 5 other. Yeah. And I was just like, this ain't good.
Yeah, and those tend to always pop up when folks are desperate, right? The suitcase, the airplane, and the flower. I mean, I've been approached through all of them, man. And all I encourage people to do.
I know you remember in college this was happening.
Yeah. I encourage people not to get involved in that, because, and I know how easy it is and how enticing it is, because you feel like all you got to do is put some money in and get some people in. But let me tell you, those all end very badly, right? And do some research on, do a Google search on Susus and all those types of things. There's better ways to make moves when it comes to you know, being able to sustain your family, being able to make the money that you need in order to continue the lifestyle that you're after. There's some great work from home opportunities out here. Now, it will require you to become more entrepreneurial minded, where you're going to be working for yourself. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because when it comes to being an entrepreneur, think about it. You're going to be working hard anyway. Do you want to work hard for someone else?
Come
Or
on.
do you want to work hard for yourself?
Come on.
You know what I mean? And so many of us, we don't think about being an entrepreneur, because in our minds it's something that we can't do. That's not the case. Matter of fact, if I had been exposed to being an entrepreneur earlier in life, I wouldn't have spent 16, 17 years in corporate America. I would have become an entrepreneur much sooner. I remember talking to my wife. You know, I used to work for a Fortune Global 400 financial services company, and I remember telling my wife that I was just getting bored. I mean, I was just burnt in terms of doing what I was doing, and I thought about being an entrepreneur, but I kept talking myself out of it. And I was telling my wife about it, and she said, "Well, aren't you like, you know, at the time I was managing a $60 billion enterprise for this organization, right?" And I said, she asked me, she said, aren't you running like a $60 billion operation? I was like, yeah. You don't think you can be an entrepreneur and build something for yourself? I was just like, got it. Didn't even put all that together, man. It took my wife to smack.
Your wife from the south side of Chicago, right?
She is, right? You know,
like that too. Just hit you with that quick knowledge, like that. How you gonna just put me in class? $60 million fun and everything. You can't do it for yourself.
Right. Like, what a great idea. No, but it took that for me to actually say, you know what, I'm gonna do this. And so in 2004, I stepped out, became an entrepreneur, man. I haven't looked back since. And now I got five companies that when it comes to, because I'm all about the revenue streams, right? And so I got 5 revenue streams coming in. And so when COVID hit, we weren't really that impacted. We weren't. Matter of fact, a few of the businesses grew because a lot of them benefit from working from home and stuff like that. And 2 of the companies that I own required travel, so I wasn't able to travel, and it allowed me to work from home and just lock in on some of these other things, man. So it was a blessing for us. But now I'm all about trying to help people understand how to become an entrepreneur and how to move differently. You don't have to, and given the day's technology and access to information, you don't have to be brick and mortar to become an entrepreneur. You can do everything from your computer, from your cell phone, and there's no such huge barrier to entry. For example, if you try to go out and get a franchise from like a McDonald's or, you know, Wendy's or something like that, you're gonna be forking out about $250,000, $300,000, and you have to meet a certain net income or a net worth requirement, right? There are ways in which you can actually get a business from home. For example, one of the companies that I work with, that I own, when it comes to educating people on their credit, man, this thing went from $10,000 a month in sales to over $100,000 a month in sales in 6 months, right? And so now I'm teaching people how they can do the exact same thing. You know what I mean? So, and it's all from home, and it's helping people that need the help when it comes to this information.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But the other part about it is, dude, and I think some people, they see the enticement of freedom and being able to step out on your own. But I also tell folks, it requires one thing for you to understand. You got to put the work in.
You got to hustle, no doubt.
And work becomes the aversion. Work is like so some folks, it's like the antithesis of what they want. You just want it handed to you. That's why sometimes it's the simpler idea to just go ahead and get this little job and be forced to deal with people in your head and all this other kind of stuff. Whereas if all I got to do is apply myself to just say, okay, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this on a daily basis, have some consistency about it. I'm just going, and understand the words of no, rejection, whatever the case may be. Get back on that track and keep going. You can actually build something from just the simplest ideals in your mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And help a lot of people.
Hey, man. What's the name of the show? YouTube Near Me Not to Hear Me. You ain't saying nothing. And sometimes, they're thinking, well, I don't want to sell anything. You don't have to sell anything. There are opportunities out there just of your interest alone. I got friends of mine who have turned their hobbies into businesses.
Yeah.
One dude works with wood. I mean, he literally cuts out designs, blow torches, laminates, and does all this kind of stuff. And then all he needed to do was try and figure out, well, how do I get it out there where everybody can see it? So he hired somebody to put and create up a website for him, and then get his stuff put out there, and orders are just flying in like this. And I'm just like, yeah, man, off your hobby. Now you got to come up out your garage because your wife mad because you got all this wood up in there. They can't park no cars up in there. Now you got to look for a shop, and you get all these orders, and you get money paid out. Now you don't know what to do. You busy now.
Right.
Job.
Right. That's it, man. And 2020 brought on a lot of that for a lot of people, and people have taken advantage of it. You still got a small volume of people, or small amount of people that are still hesitant. They're still waiting for stimulus. They're still waiting for the job to call them back. And man, it's again, when it comes to
what should you do with a stimulus check? I didn't mean to cut you, but I got to ask you, what should you do with a stimulus check?
Another question, man. Use that stimulus check to find ways in which to take that $1,200, $1,400, whatever it is, and figure out how it can become $3,400, $4,400, $5,400. In other words, take that stimulus check and invest in something that's going to give you a return, whether it's your credit, whether it's buying a business, which you can do for the stimulus, and making sure that it's giving you some type of return going forward. Don't take that stimulus check and just go out and spend it. That's not going to help you going forward. You want to invest that money somehow, some way, so that there's a return coming back.
Well, they're saying, this is the whole idea behind getting you these checks, or getting the country checks, so that they want to stimulate the economy.
Yeah.
But you as an economics, and I'm gonna put you masters in economics, right?
Yeah, man.
We ain't talking to nobody who on the okie doke off the corner, who got a sales plan. We talking about somebody who went to school and understands it.
Yep.
So when I hear things like that, stuff like that makes me think of, okay, the average person, the person who is 78% of what the country is, who working check to check, neck to neck.
Yeah.
They see bills.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm gonna get this money, I'm gonna pay bills.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The caveat to all of that is what happens when the stimulus runs out. That's how you have to think about it. Okay. Right? You can take money and take the stimulus and put it towards these bills, and then it's gone. Or you can take that money, invest in something, whether it's something revenue generating, or helps you get your credit restored so that you get your buying power back. Something that gives you some type of return so that it helps you pay those bills going forward and be able to sustain payment of those bills. So that's okay. I know how easy it is to take that stimulus check and not even pay bills, but go out and create more bills, right? Just go buy something because you want to feel better, right? Man, we got to think a little bit differently about this, particularly again coming out of 2020. If 2020 has taught us anything, again, it needs to be that we need to be a little more self-sufficient when it comes to supporting our families and moving forward. What I mean by that is we can't rely on a job. There's no such thing as job security anymore. We can't rely on the government to continue cranking out these stimulus checks. We need to figure out ways in which we can be financially independent, so that our income is not reliant on a job or the government, but it's something that we're creating to bring more income into the household, to be able to pay the bills, the mortgage, the car note, and all that other stuff going forward. And there are things out here that can help people do just that.
So Rod, you face this all the time in talking to folks, and you get what somebody who's earnestly interested, like, hey, I just heard about you, or trying to figure this out,
Yeah.
and then you partly play psychologist because and I know you do. You play psychologist because you got to help them try to figure out how to get out of their own way. Like
Yeah.
the problems of it is that somebody will come to you and say, "Hey, I'm in I'm in desperation. I'm in need.
Yeah.
I'm hearing what you're saying, and it sounds really good, but dude, I know come Monday,
Yep.
Chase won $1,500, or
Yep.
they're gonna talk about taking. I got a red notice because they talking about I ain't got my mortgage, or you know." And so, in dealing with the person who is under desperation, what's one of the things that, and just think about all the people you talked about, find out one person who I'm talking about, and think about what were your steps in laying out something for them, so that by the time they got through that conversation with you, they were like, okay, I think I can breathe again. I think I see
Yeah.
the light. What was that process?
Great question, man. So I pride myself on being a trusted financial problem solver, right? So there and be able to offer solutions from end to end, being that person that's in complete desperation right now to the person that just wants to make sure that their money is working hard for them in the stock market. And so what I do is just really just understand the current state, understand the current situation that they're in right now. And then I have access to different opportunities that will allow them to address that issue. For example, I got an opportunity right now that if anybody is in a desperate situation and they take advantage of this opportunity, they can get paid the following week and get paid some good money. Yeah. And again, it's things like that that can help. I have solutions to that can help people in any situation that they're in to put them in a better situation going forward. As long as they're coachable, they're committed, and they're consistent. If they bring all three of those things to the table, I can help them in any situation that they're in.
Coachable,
Committed,
committed.
and consistent.
You sound like a coach of basketball.
Man, I'm all about just trying to help
Coaching,
people.
committed, and
I've been there.
consistent.
Yeah, man, I've been in situations like that, and I know how frustrating and how scary it can be, man. And anything I can do to help people get out of that situation and put them in a better state going forward, I am all in. But they got to bring those three things to the table in order for it to happen.
Rod, I know there's some people out there who have children who are teenagers.
Yeah,
Your boys are teenagers, am I correct?
yeah,
So, as we're looking at college and what those possibilities are, this is this, and I don't throw this out lightly. I'm throwing this out because I got, and being in education for so long, but I got many friends of mine whose kids are trying to embark upon, well, what in the world do I do now, that I'm looking at the world outside? I'm like, wow, everything is changing right in front of my eyes.
yeah.
As parents who are of those children, as they're trying to embark upon what to do, if you look at your own boys, and you're thinking about, and man, when you're 18, I got to figure out, how to set you up for success so you don't
Yeah,
come back to the house.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
No, I
got
get
to,
it.
you
I
got
get
to
it.
go.
Yeah.
So what is that you would give advice to those parents who are trying to plan and lay that out? Because we've been in tune to the system of graduate from high school, go
Yeah.
to college.
Yeah. 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 So let me allow me to correct myself. My two boys are older. So I got a 21 and a 23-year-old.
Oh,
So
cool.
so but my wife and I, we went through this with our two boys.
Okay.
And it's interesting, man. I got a different perspective on it now. Because I agree with you. When I was coming out, it was like you go to high school, go to college, get a job. Here's what I've learned to understand.
Come on, man. Come on.
Not everybody's built for that. And
Wait, wait. Say it again. And you talking to the educator, because I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah,
Say it again.
not everybody's built for college. And my wife and I, we learned the hard way, right? So we essentially forced our oldest boy to go that route, and he wasn't ready for it. So here he is coming out of, he graduated from Chandler High out here in Arizona.
Okay.
And our thing was we wanted him to have the HBCU experience. So we sent him to Howard.
Hey, you know?
Right? We wanted him to have that balance because he didn't get it here in Chandler. Right. So he went there, and culture shock, man. I mean, complete. Imagine a kid going, you went to Morehouse, and you know how this is.
Hey, bro, I know the scenario.
You know what I'm going. Right?
I actually did some grad hours at Howard. I got a School of Ed. I did some time at HU after going to Morehouse.
Yeah, man. Beautiful school.
From Arizona to DC.
Yeah. So
First of all, he ain't never seen that many beautiful black people walking around the campus like, oh my God.
Head on a swivel the whole time. The whole time, right? So now, mind you, I said, listen, that first semester, I'm gonna give you a pass, because I was that dude. I went to college again. I almost flunked out my first semester because I was the dude. I had it backwards, man. I was up all night, sleeping all day, right? Didn't go to class. Almost lost my scholarship. It was bad. I had a 1.9 GPA my first semester. So I recognized the pressure that my oldest was in. So I said, listen, all right, I'm this first semester, I get it. You're trying to get acclimated. I just encourage you to do your best. I didn't tell him I was giving him a pass, but in my head, I'm like, you're going to get a pass on the first semester. But anyway, so the first semester grades came in, man, they were horrible. They were worse than my 1.9. And I said, all right, I need to bring you home. No, actually, I kept him down there. I said, no, you stay down there for the second semester. And if I don't see what I need to see the second semester, I'm bringing you home, and we're going to recalibrate, right? And sure enough, second semester, they were even worse than the first semester. So I brought them home, and we recalibrated. We had a good sit down. We talked through his study habits. We talked through, because, Howard ain't cheap, right? And he didn't get any scholarship, anything like that. And so he had convinced me to send him back for a third semester. Third semester came around, man, grades were the same. I brought him all the way. I said, that's it. We're done, right? But in my head, I was thinking this kid was not ready for that challenge. He wasn't. So, I'm not a big advocate on shoving our kids to college right away. All right. Now, if they want to go to school and they've demonstrated through their actions that they want to go to school, then you can support it. But I got my two. When he came back, he was not necessarily into school, so he started working. And then as he got more work experience, he realized what a degree can do for him and what he's trying to pursue and how it can help him. So he started going to school on his own, and he's paying for it by himself. So now he appreciates the whole education thing now, right? So lesson learned. So I encourage all parents, just your child, and if they're ready for the whole college thing. If they're not ready for it, don't force it on them. Don't force it.
And listen, I share the same sentiment. You said at one point, whatever. I remember at Morehouse, man, after 2 years being down there and coming up with a .63. Mr. and Mrs. Davis said, this time you can come on back home. And I had to get myself into a reset. And and everything that you said, I'm going to validate. Wanting to go because I thought that was the right thing to do, realizing that I was not prepared. And I'm not putting that on the schools. I'm personally not prepared. And what does it mean to be prepared to be ready for college? College is 98% reading and writing. We don't have to talk about nothing else. If you struggle with that right now in high school,
right?
You see your kids struggling with that. Let me state this again: 98% of your time in college is reading and writing.
Right.
Reading. Right. There's the beautiful scenery of being in these lecture halls and knowledge is being just given to you and you're just absorbing and you're 98% of your time is reading and writing. And being able then to come back to the class read ahead of everybody, including the professor, and then being able to listen to the person explain it, although you've already read it. Not to say that you may have understood it, but you've already read it and made your attempts. And now the connector pieces come back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's real talk.
If your child is not like that and not ready, please don't take in the money of 10, 20, 30. And some of our parents work hard. You pay for your boy to go straight through the nose. I listen, my parents did the same thing.
Yeah.
And I remember going down to more, and when I had to come back after 2 years and now work and go to school, oh, I definitely appreciated it. But it was also a certain thing about, and particularly with our kids, and I'm just going to say that, our black and brown kids who are having to deal with the ideal of feeling inferior to education, to people who are around them. And then once they get a realization that, wait a minute, I'm not really that inferior. All I really have to do is need to apply myself and get focused and do what I need to do. You'll fight through all the rest of the stuff, but it's really about what's up here. And they're winners every time. And I learned that the hard way. That's the reason why I got into education, because I wanted to give that back to kids and give that to parents. Because my parents had to trust me. My first 2 years in Morehouse, I went back home to Chicago, working at a law firm down on 25 East Washington, right near Carson's, making my money, ended up buying a car from and paying double, triple what the value of the car in this note, thinking I'm doing something, rolling around law firm, thinking I'm walking around with a suit on and K-Swiss and snow. You know what I'm saying? You know the story, right? And thinking you're doing something and you're not, and then you all of a sudden begin to learn that, wait a minute. In order for me to be like these lawyers or be like these other folks, I got to really go to school. Okay, so I'm going to school. I went to Harold Washington and get a couple of classes. I went to the University of Illinois Circle campus to really get myself reset. So I took a .63 that I left in Morehouse and turned it into a 3.5 in a year and a half because I was busting my tail. But I did that.
Yeah.
And I had to ask for forgiveness from my mama, my sisters, and ask forgiveness from Morehouse to say, would you take me back?
Right.
I've proven myself now.
Right.
And dude, when I got back, shoot, you couldn't tell me nothing. Hey, man, that's why I'm doing. You too near me not to hear me, man. I went back with a vengeance.
My oldest boy is going through that right now. So he's now applying himself to school. And on top of all of that, he now sees things differently and wants to be more of an entrepreneur. So now it's all starting to click for him, man. And my youngest is right behind him doing the same thing. So
and that, I think that's the beauty of it. So, and what you're saying is to parents who are listening to this, you don't necessarily have to push them.
No.
To go into an institution. You don't need to go yourself into student loan debt or paying out your 401k and everything for a situation that, well, my people gonna look at my kids funny. So, find out what their talents are, and these kids are making money on a different kind of way. If it's about making money,
no, absolutely. I mean, the ways they're going to make money haven't even been created yet over the next few years.
And what does the college experience really teach them about that?
That's the thing, man. So I know there's a lot of peer pressure on parents to have their kids go to the institution and all that. But I would just encourage parents to not fall into that trap, seriously, because to your point, there's so many kids coming out here and all this student loan debt that they're forced to work a job, to do something to just get out from underneath all that debt. And really, you find out a lot of people ended up working jobs that they didn't even go to school for, because they have to pay off that student loan debt. So it's a vicious circle, man, that a lot of people fall into. And if you're not careful, it could actually negatively impact the early stages of the adulthood and how in the financial moves that they can make.
And it will affect generations.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
That's the scary part about it, man. Rod, dude, man, we could talk forever, bro. We're gonna have you back, man, here on YouTube.
Yeah,
Not to hear me, bro.
love to.
But here's the thing that I want to capsulize from this, man. I love what you said about being coachable, committed, and consistent.
Yeah.
Like that's something that any individual who's listening to this right now needs to understand. If you really want to get up out of a situation and somebody has that kind of knowledge, you got to be coachable, you got to be committed, and you got to be in the consistency.
Right.
Any young person can understand that.
Right.
I mean, dude, that came out. That's like some Dean Smith kind of stuff right there. I'm not mad at you on that. The other thing that I appreciated that you said today was that you have to have an understanding about whether or not you're going to pay interest on the things that you have bought and you're paying interest on it, or things that you invest into that are paying you interest.
That's right. Yeah.
The scary thing about that is that I hear a lot of people will say, well, I invested into these stocks and all of a sudden they went down. And what there's a saying, and you probably know this, it says that, bears eat, bulls eat, but pigs get slaughtered.
Slaughtered, yeah. And so, so that's another thing. Let me just put a bow on that part too, because a lot of folks, and I know where it's coming from. A lot of people are getting enticed by the whole Robin Hood thing and the stock market and all that. Here's what I want people to understand. Unless you're wealthy and you have enough money to put towards a significant position in a particular stock, one company, I would highly encourage you not to invest in stocks. Here's why. There's a better way. When it comes to mutual funds are, think of mutual funds as entities that buy hundreds and thousands of stocks, all right? When you buy in a mutual fund, you spread out the risk so that, if you're in one stock, God forbid that CEO of that stock does something stupid, it shows up on the 10 o'clock news, guess what's gonna happen to that stock? It's gonna tank in price. Whereas in a mutual fund, if something like that happens, one of those stocks will tank, but the other thousands will offset the one that tanked. And so I always encourage people not to invest in particular stocks, invest in a mutual fund and diversify your risk. And another reason mutual funds are a better investment for the smaller investor is that mutual funds by law have to pay out 98% of their gains every year to their shareholders. And so when that happens, I encourage people to take those gains and reinvest them right back into the mutual fund. So now you have more shares, okay? When you have more shares, that following year when they pay out gains, do the same thing and just keep building. And that's how the compounding interest improves over time. And so I created an investment model that has outperformed the stock market since I left TD Ameritrade. When I was there, I had a model for the self-directed investor that I created that helped people keep pace with that 12%. But now, since 2004, we've been outperforming. We've been averaging 17% since 2004. And using this model and using this philosophy is worked very well. And with all of that, all of those gains, we've never lost a dime of anyone's investment principal.
So let's just take it for somebody who is at home and who's listening, saying, "Okay, Rod, I hear you. So you're saying to me, I'm gonna do the bare knuckle minimum. I got $100.
Yep.
Not hurting me at all. I got $100.
Yep.
Don't buy the stock. Go put it in a mutual fund.
Yeah, and build a portfolio that way as opposed to buying stocks. Because when you buy one stock, you're locking yourself into the performance of that one company,
which will go up or down, up or down, up or down. But of a mutual, because there's so many of them, even if those things happen on down, they've got this other play of other things that are so consistent and they stay up that even that little dip doesn't really hurt what your $100 did.
And at the end of each year, they're going to pay out 98% of the gains to the shareholders. Stocks don't have to do that.
So even if I look at it like this, if I got the Rod McKinnis mutual fund,
yeah,
right? and I'm Dan Davis investor. Rod has hundreds of thousands of stocks that are invested out there.
Right.
Big stocks, like stocks that cost maybe $200 or $300, $400, $500 a piece.
Right.
But Dan Davis investor only has $100. I'm gonna put my $100 in with Rob McKinnis mutual fund, and I don't know if this is real or not, but I'm just saying as an example for you all. Yeah. And from that $100, whatever happens with all the gains that happen in his Rob McKinnis, mutual fund, that $100 will grow and they got to pay out 97% of the gains. And it could be that the $100 at the end of the year that I never just touched, I gave you $100 one time. It can end up being, what would you say, 16, 17, maybe $20. It could be more than that. Just depends how things go. But it would never be $97. $98.
Yeah, so it's a slow and steady race, man.
And I think that's what people don't understand sometimes about investment. I got a partner of mine who's a serious Wall Street investor, like big time dude. And he was telling me about when this stuff happened with Reddit and all this other kind of stuff. And he's sitting there watching, and he was like, "Well, let me get in, make my thing," and he pulled off millions off of it, right? I'm like, okay. I said, that's great for you, but for the average investor who didn't catch it and see it like you do, because you sit with your phone and you watching stuff on your computer and you instantly see that happen. Yeah. By the time that and here's the thing that I've always heard from investors, by the time that you hear it reported on the news, it's too late for you to get in.
It is.
It's way too late.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. It's like, and part of the issue is that when it comes to the stock market, 80% of the stock market is run by the mutual funds and the pension funds. So the small investor is kind of like the laggard. They're the last to get the information and the last to know. And so, to your point, when all that happened, it was the big boys that were making the necessary moves, because they're buying hundreds and thousands of shares at a time. And if you're not in front of them, you can lose out. But if you have access to the information and you have the money, like your friend, that can tap into it and be in at the same time as some of the mutual funds and pension funds, you can make out pretty well. But if you're that lagging investor that just saw this on the 10 o'clock news and you're like, oh man, tomorrow I need to jump in, it is too late and you can get burned. And next thing you know, going back to what we talked about earlier, it's a lot of us in our community that are watching the 10 o'clock news that hear that, we go in, we get burned, and then we stop altogether. So out of the stock market is a gamble.
Would you and dude, I hope you don't mind. We just take a little bit longer, man, because the interest level is rising on this.
Yeah,
I have witnessed families and brothers and sisters and friends get together and say, "Hey, we're going to start an investment club."
Yeah. So, all right.
I'm gonna just put it. I'm gonna just say it just like that, because you don't know how. Because of the circles we run into, we sit down and kicking back, and all of a sudden I hear, "Well, man, if we just pull our money together and invest it, and this, that, and other, and we can create this," and I was sitting there going, "Okay, I hear you. I hear what you're talking about. I hear what
So
here's the human part of me. It sounds good right now in theory, and it all looks good, but when money goes up and down, the emotions go the same way. And people and money and friends and family, sometimes they don't mix. They like oil and water."
Yeah, like to your point, conceptually, it sounds great, right? And I applaud people that have the thought and are even able to pull it off at times. Investment clubs work when there's clear expectations, there's a clear infrastructure, and they have tools online that can show people how to put the infrastructure together for the investment club. And the communication is awesome. So when you have those things and you have willing participants that understand the risks associated, investment clubs can work out. What's that?
And they trust each other.
Yes, it can work out well. It can work out well. But to your other point, money is an emotionally charged subject. And when you don't have those things, you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have the communication, you don't have the expectation.
Right. Say it again so the listener can hear, because you too near me not to hear what he just said. Money is a what?
Emotionally charged subject, man. And when you don't have those things I just talked about with that investment club, it ends badly. And relationships get ruined and it's just not good. So, I really don't encourage investment clubs because this is a lot of work to go along with it. But if you got committed people that are willing to put all that stuff together that I mentioned, it can work great. I encourage people to just invest individually and not with an investment club.
So since I like Jolly Ranchers and I like Starburst jelly beans and I like Starbucks and I don't care what you say, I like Chick-fil-A because I went to school in the South. And so I put Chick-fil-A nuggets and sandwiches all.
Listen, I will house some Chick-fil-A.
I'm just saying, I'm sorry. If I'm just doing some sidebar investment, I'm taking 5% of the 20% that I'm going to use in investing aggressively, and I'm going to just take 5% of that and invest in the things that I know that I buy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Is that crazy?
No, that's actually the best way to do it. I mean, if you have, because I manage money for people, for family, friends, and friends of friends, and I basically handle their real money. But if you got a Robinhood account and you want to do some things on the side, just to kind of understand the concepts of investing and stuff like that, I encourage that, and I encourage investing in what you know. That's an old Peter Lynch philosophy. He's the author of One Up on Wall Street. And Warren Buffett follows the same philosophy as well. He talks about invest in things that you know about. So I'm a huge advocate of that.
So within that, well, here's what scares me. On Facebook and Instagram and any of these social media kind of things, there are always these advertisers that kick out now, and I'm saying now, about pre-IPO.
Yeah.
Like, you want to get in. What if you got it? The one ad says, if you had $1,000 and you heard about Amazon and you invested it pre-IPO, you could have turned that $1,000 into, and then the number, $65,000. Like, okay, that really looks good. I hear what you're saying. Right. How many people have actually said that? But what scares me about, if you get the package to get this pre-IPO information and you buy this stuff, and there ain't nobody giving nothing free away. The game is to be sold, not to be told. That's what Slim said, right?
Yep.
So what do you talk about with people who say, well, I want to get some pre-IPO information and all this other? I'm gonna invest my little bit and I'm gonna make me $1 million off my little $1,000.
Yeah. So again, there's better ways to go about that. Those types of companies are really out to make a profit off of the subscriptions, and be careful with the pre-IPO stuff, because really, in all honesty, you have to be pre-qualified in order to participate in those types of investments. Yeah, we call it being an affluent investor, where you have to meet certain income requirements, net worth requirements, and stuff like that in order to truly participate. We call those private placements, right? And so if you meet that definition, you can do it, no problem. But be careful with that.
If you are the person who this $1,000 came out of your stimulus check.
Yeah, not worth it. Not worth it. Yeah, you could invest that money much differently, particularly if it's coming out of stimulus check. Put that into a business that can help generate more revenue going forward to sustain you after that stimulus. But again, this is all about the information, man, that we talked about earlier, making sure that you have it, and don't fall victim to those types of deals. If it sounds too good to be true when it comes to those types of opportunities, it probably is. And it's unfortunate, man. I hear that all the time. I've talked to people all the time that have been victims of these types of enticements. It's not worth it. That money could be doing much better for you another way. Invest it another way.
Man,
Don't
Rod.
necessarily put it in the bank either. That's another thing about banks, man. Be careful with banks because you know that when you put your money in a savings account or a checking account, it's not just sitting there with your name on it. Guess what? They're investing that money themselves, and they're turning around and paying you the 0.2% while they're going after the 12. That's how they make money. So you know, be careful with that.
Rod, you glassed over that one. I'm about to give you the experience on that one. My wife and I moved from DC to LA, and we came up on a large chunk of money. And I'm trying to, you know, I'm contacting relatives of mine who are NFL and NBA and trying to get some information. Like, what do you do? And everybody got their ways, and I said, okay, well, let me just first get this money secured into a bank.
Yeah.
And so here I come with my little taste of change, big taste of change.
Yeah.
I'm over here in California, Marina Del Rey at the Bank of America. I'm gonna put them on blast. And I said, I'm about to give you 6 figures. And I need you to, you know, break this up. And you telling me about T-bills, told me about C somethings, community. And then I said, well, you know, well, what's your rates? Because here's the educated side of me. I know that banks loan money because that's what you're gonna do with my money.
Right.
You're gonna turn around and you're gonna charge somebody else a higher interest rate to roll off this money that I'm putting in here because you're gonna give me a penalty if I pull my money out. Right. So okay, I said, all right. So how much are you giving me? Because I know you making 17, 18, 19, 20, 25% off of this. And you just told me how much are you gonna give me? And Rod, I put this on everything. When the dude with a straight face said, well, you know, for our premier customers, we give them 3%. 3%. And I said, well, where do I fall? Well, we can give you 1.2. I said, CD. That's what it was. CDs and T-bill. I said, you're gonna give me 1.2 on what I just was, and you and I literally pulled up their advertisement and highlighted what they were going to charge people for a loan.
Yeah.
And I said, maybe I didn't understand you.
Yeah, that's how they make money, man. That's how, and the caveat to that is that neither one of those, the 3% or the 1.2, meet inflation. Inflation is 3 to 4% right now. Right. So your money's losing its buying power. It's all about that information, man.
I when that hit me, man, I was like, okay, this game is a lot bigger than what people clearly understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And dude, Rod, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rob. Rob, where can they find you, man? Where can they find you, bro?
Man, I'm on Facebook. I'm on IG. My email is info@robmckinnis.com. So yeah, I'm looking to help as many people as I possibly can, man, because there's a lot of fun.
RobMcKinnis.com.
Yep.
And are you in the same thing with Rob McKinnis at Facebook and Rob McKinnis at IG?
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, my man from the South Side.
Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
The next time y'all may see us, we may be in my backyard at the Cochise and with some Harold's.
I'm there, brother. I am there.
Maybe I give you some Leons and some tips flown in.
Bro, come on, man. They ain't
doing no barbecue out here, bro.
Lambs, get some lambs with some hot wings. Come on, man.
All these people like, what are y'all talking about? Everybody from Chicago like, y'all know y'all clowning. Like, yeah, clowning. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for just taking the time out. Again, you can see Rod McKinnis, and that's McKinnis, and Rod, ROD, Rod McKinnis. He can be found on Facebook. He can be found on Instagram. I will put all of this into the liner notes of the video so that you guys get an opportunity. Man, I just appreciate you just taking the time out, man, and just giving some nuggets, because that's what this program is all about, man.
Yeah, man.
It's a conversation
I appreciate the invite. Shout out to my man Jerry Woods for putting it together, man.
Jay Wood, what's up, man? We're gonna have to get him. We're gonna have to do something nice for him, man. We may have to get him a dark half with everything on it. Like, what are you all talking about? Like, it's a Chicago thing. It's a Chicago thing. Y'all don't understand. Man, I appreciate y'all for coming out, man. Look again for our next episode coming to you all soon. Rob, man, bro, I appreciate you. We bringing you back, man.
Love it. Pleasure. Be more than happy to.
Peace, y'all.
All right, brother.